not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry R. Women Liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
All right, thank you all for joining us. All right, everyone's still coming in. Awesome. Yep. Okay.
Thank you for being here. This is day 6. Before we begin, we will let you know some important information of how to be here in this space. So if you have any technical support that you need during this session tonight, please private chat Nichelle or Bonnie. Please have the Zoom meeting link handy so that in the event if you lose connectivity, you can rejoin. And we'll ask someone to actually put the link in the chat. So you look at the chat and the link, we were going to put that in there to make it handy for you. Also, the chat's going to be available this evening, so please be appropriate. We ask that you reserve this space to ask questions about the material and to forward the conversation. So your audio, when you entered, is on mute. Please do not unmute yourself. Also, on your Zoom screen, you'll notice the video button. So at the far left of the Zoom toolbar is the icon to turn your video on or off. And you can move your cursor in that Zoom window. It reveals the toolbar either at the bottom or at the top of your screen, depending on what device you're on. And speaking of devices, If you, just some notes regarding whether you're on a laptop or computer or your phone or your tablet. If you are on your laptop or computer, please click in the Zoom window to reveal the speaker view or gallery view. This is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and you can click the icon to switch between speaker view or gallery view. If you're on the phone, iPhone or Android, you can simply just swipe to the left or right on the screen, switching between views. And on your tablet, your screen, you can see the icons here that should reveal speaker view or gallery view in the upper right, in the upper left corner. Just tap on the icon that you prefer and switch between views. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go into the National Postpartum Awareness Week tenets. These are the foundational pieces that we've used to put together the inaugural National Postpartum Awareness Week. And Shawnee, are you with us in the space?
I am. Greetings, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As was stated today, number 6. So excited to be with all of you for this powerful session. And as Chantel was just sharing, the National Postpartum Awareness Week campaign and journey for Black, Indigenous people of color has a set of tenets and foundational pieces on which this movement has been built. And we want to share them with you tonight in various ways. One of the ways is through reading them together. We invite folks that are part of our guests and our community space to help us with the reading, asking those who are part of the collective to fall back and hold space for guests tonight to read on our behalf. And let's activate these tenets. So each person, and we need 5 volunteers, so raise your digital hand if you're willing to lend your voice. Thank you, Katie. We're gonna have 5 folks read each of the 5 paragraphs until we're complete. And we have set the foundation. So Katie has her hand up. I see Raquel has volunteered. Who else would be willing to lend your voice in this space tonight? We need 3 more powerful souls to do that. And we're so good at waiting patiently. I see Dr. B. Thank you, Baba. I see Crystal and I see Adam. So we have our 5 awesome wonders ready to read. Katie, let's start with you. Please unmute and read the first paragraph, if you will.
Okay, where's the paragraph? Okay, here we are. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The National Postpartum Awareness Week is a commitment to engage in collective action to ensure safe pregnancy and postpartum outcomes for Black, Brown, and Indigenous women and birthing people, straight and LGBTQ+, locally, nationally, and internationally.
Beautiful. Can we have the next person, which is Raquel?
Postpartum Awareness Week collective members represent over 25 states from across the country who are committed to amplifying the needs and the voices of BIPOC during the 4th trimester so that the birthing while Black and Brown in the US will no longer be a death sentence.
Thank you, Raquel. Next up, Dr. B.
Through the power of collective action, this campaign raises awareness about the inequitable and unacceptable impact of systemic and institutional racism experienced by BIPOC during their pregnancy, birthing, and postpartum journeys.
Thank you, beautiful, Baba. Thank you. Now we have Crystal.
The ARIAH Foundation, Dr. Shalon's MAP, and Tatia Oden French Foundation, in partnership with stakeholders across the United States, co-created a vision to restore life and dignity to the birthing and postpartum experiences of BIPOC birthing people.
Thank you, Crystal. And Adam, will you close us out with the final slide?
Sure thing. We are guided and activated by the reproductive justice framework created by 12 Black women in 1994 that has grown into a movement promoting the human right of all people to have a child, to not have a child, to raise the child or children they have in a safe and healthy environment, and to bodily autonomy.
All righty, thank you, Brother.
You're welcome.
Everyone. We have set the foundation and let's carry on. Wow, so I love that after reading the tenets, we get an opportunity to experience the power and magic and the majesty of these two sisters who share the same womb space, growing and transforming, and I say planning from the time they were in the womb about what they would provide to the world in the form of their gifts, talents, and abilities. Miguel and Griselda are two amazing beings who are devoted to teaching and transforming community in multiple ways. I'm grateful to announce that these identical PhD twin professors of the social sciences, I'm going to say that again, these identical PhD twin professors of the social sciences at the City College of New York, or CUNY, are here with us to open the way. They are also priestesses and certified yoga instructors, and they are generous beyond measure with the gifts that they have been given and the lineage that they come from. So without further ado, let's hear from the Brujas of Brooklyn. Miguel and Griselda, you are up and you are magnificent.
Thank you, Shawnee. Thank you. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. There's my sister. So I'm Griselda, or Griselda. I'm one half of Brujas of Brooklyn.
Hi, everyone. I am Miguelina. I'm the other half of Brujas of Brooklyn, and we are identical twin sisters. So we shared a placenta, a womb. And Shawnee, thank you for that introduction. I mean, you moved me. I'm tearing up because it's beautiful for people to speak life into you. So I thank you for that. And I love that you said that we've been planning, we've been plotting since the womb, and here we are. So thank you.
And it's our supreme pleasure to be able to be ushering and being asked to usher in this amazing program by opening the way. So for those that it seems like most people here energetically may be familiar, but just in case, in many indigenous, and that means like African, Asian, so-called pre-colonial societies, our ancestors were very much connected to spirit, to the universe, to God, to the Most High, very connected to nature. And in order to commence a ceremony, almost like to let the universe, to let God know that we are collectively gathering for the sake of a particular purpose, our ancestors had different ways of opening the way, calling in spirit to be a witness to the moment. So this is what my sister and I will be doing. And we're both certified as Kundalini yogis. So what will happen is I will open the way by honoring the 4 directions and pouring libations. And then my sister will walk us through a more specific intention setting mantra or sacred chant that will allow us through the power of sound to open the way in a very profound way. So I ask folks to come if you're not already seated into a very nice, comfortable position. And that means that if you're sitting on a chair, to make sure that you could bring both feet on the ground and kind of lean back a little bit so that you're sitting on your sits bones. That often takes a slight engagement of the abs so that you can balance yourself. With that trunk, you can now lift your heart to the sky while at the same time pulling the shoulders away from the ears. That pulling up of the heart space and pushing down of the shoulders is like a contrast that really allows for a firm stance. And then bring the chin parallel to the ground. And wherever you are, if you're comfortable, we ask that you either close your eyes or you find a spot a foot or two in front of you to look down on so that your gaze is averted. And now take a very deep breath in. And then release with an exhale every and anything that it took for us to get here this moment. One more time, deep inhale. And then with a sigh, exhale every and anything that it took to get here in this moment. And now listen to the sound of my voice, inhaling through the nose, opening the belly. Exhaling through the nose, contracting the belly. If you are pregnant, you exhale through the mouth. Everybody else through the nose. Inhale through the nose, open the belly. Really allowing your lungs to expand with life-affirming air, and then exhaling through the nose, contract the belly as you exhale, Those that are pregnant, exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale. The more we open our belly, the more space our lungs have to increase capacity for air. And then gently exhale for 5, 4, keep exhaling, 3, 2, 1, inhale. And then exhale with a sigh and just sitting here for the next few moments, allowing the thoughts to settle. Still remaining within with your eyes closed, I'd like to ask the eldest person in the space for permission to begin. So I'll ask, is there anybody through the chat or through emoji? If anybody here is in their 80s, to please let us know. If anybody here is 75 or older. If anybody's in their 70s. 65 or older. Yay, okay. So I got a 70. So Maddie, thank you, Elder Maddie. Do we have your permission to formally open the way?
Yes, permission
Thank
is
you.
formally given.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be in your presence. I will start by opening the way, honoring all of the directions, still remaining within. We are connecting to ancestral memory. I'm not saying anything that you all don't know or need to learn. It's just a matter of remembering. And we honor the cardinal directions, north, east, south, and west. We start with the spirit of the north, and I'm going to ring a bell with every direction and pour some water. We start with the spirit of the north. The spirit of earth, the color is green, our root chakra, thanking our physical bodies, the bodies of the beings that carried life, and honoring the lost souls, the souls of those who perished, either themselves or a child, in the process of bringing life onto the world. We honor their memory with the spirit of the north. We honor the spirit of the east, air, our lungs, the color is yellow, the third eye, and the spirit of new beginnings. May this initiative that's very powerful and needed, acknowledging the need for more resources and attention to the fourth trimester, may it lead to small revolutions that will spark larger ones for new beginnings for maternal health in the United States. We honor the spirit of the south, the element of fire, the color is red, our solar plexus, our willpower. May each and every one of us present have the willpower to be radical and unapologetic in our truth so that we can spark immediate, microscopic, and macroscopic change in the landscape of maternal care in the United States. And lastly, we honor the spirit of the West, water, blue, the color is blue, the heart chakra, and we honor endings, closings. Our culture is very much a culture that does not honor endings, grief in a ceremonial way. May we remember that all things are in divine order, and may we always recall that there's a cycle of life, of birth, of life, death, and rebirth in all beings and at all times. Deep inhale. Exhale with a sigh. And at this moment, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. You can open your eyes as there will be a video played, allowing us to know where we are. It won't cover everybody, but most sections, to know the name of the indigenous groups that inhabited where you were before European conquest. I honor the spirit of the Lenape. I'm here in Brooklyn. My twin sister and I are both in Brooklyn and Queens. The Lenape were the people that nurtured and watched over this land and took care of it for us to now stand on it and benefit from the fruits of their sacrifices. I personally, and there's a link on the chat if you'd like to get more precise knowledge of the indigenous people. I would also like to call forth the indigenous people of the Antilles or the Caribbean, where my ancestors are from, the Arawak and the Tainos most precisely, and Dominican Republic and Haiti. A very proud people, a very strong people, and a defiant people, as they were one of the first to encounter European conquest back in 1492. We honor them and thank them for their sacrifices. And if you'd like, in the chat, we invite you to share with us where you are located and if you know the indigenous name of the people that guarded the land and may continue to guard the land. So I see a lot of us are in Lenape. Someone is in DC. Lenape, Illinois. And even if we may not know their indigenous names consciously, we know that the vibration of the entity of their memory lives in our heart. And now I will pass it on to my sister who will continue to formally open the way with a beautiful mantra or sacred chant.
Thank you for that, Giri. Thank you, everyone. So as Griselda said, I will continue the ceremony by doing something that's called tuning us in. Griselda and I are Kundalini yoginis. We practice and teach the art of Kundalini yoga, one of the avenues of yoga. This particular yoga focuses on Kundalini or Shakti or sexual or creative energy, that life force energy that is very present in this work, because Kundalini created the world, that's the belief, and it created each of us. Sexual energy, Shakti is the most powerful energy in the world because it creates life and it creates human beings. So this is a sacred mantra. I don't know if we have access to type in the chat, if Giri can do it. If not, the words are Om Namo Gurudev Namo. They are in Gurumukh, which is an ancient language right after Sanskrit. And it is calling forth the guru or the light being in your life. So a guru is someone that takes you from the dark into the light or can bring light into the dark. And we're going to chant this 3 times. We're going to chant this for the gurus that have shown up in your lives and giving thanks for them. We are going to chant the second one for the gurus that are yet to show up in your life, right? I love that saying that everybody you haven't met everybody you loved yet, right? The gurus that you will love and that will teach you. And the third chant is the most important one because it is for the guru within, the most important guru and the most important teacher. So in the same position that Griselda really positioned us in, I invite you to float the eyes closed. If that's not available to you, looking down at your lap, averting the gaze so you're not staring into the screen. Take a couple of deep breaths the same way my sister guided us, inhaling through the nose, and you feel your belly expand. And then maybe you feel the air lifting up to the ribs, and then your chest. And then like a roller coaster at the top, exhale by contracting the navel, exhale through the nose. If you are pregnant, please exhale through the mouth. Just a couple of cleansing breaths in that way. This conscious breath regulates the nervous system. It anchors us in the present. And it allows us to tune in to the ancestors, the lineages that came before us, those shoulders that we are standing on. So I invite you now to rub your hands together. We have 72,000 meridian and energy points just on the palms of our hands. And by rubbing them together, we're activating our nervous system, right? This is a soothing mechanism. And then bringing your hands into prayer, pressing the thumb up against that space between your breast. There's a little mound there that's called the thymus gland, right? And when you press on the thymus gland, you're actually activating hormones and sending a signal to the brain that you are ready to meditate. A little side note, we're college professors, so we always love to teach whenever we can. This is also the seat of your immune system, the thymus gland. So very powerful gland, very powerful pose. And I will tune us in. If you know the chant, please follow along with me. If you don't know the chant, I invite you to listen and let the vibration of my words shower your aura and wash over you. Om Namo Gurudev Namo, bowing to the 3 teachers, and the last one, the most important teacher, the most important guru, the one within. So let's inhale to begin. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo de na na Dev Namo. Inhale. Slightly suspend the breath. Relax the mouth and the teeth. Hold the breath. And then slowly exhaling through the nose for 8, for 6. Keep exhaling for 4. The power of the breath is in the exhale. And inhale. You can exhale, float the hands to the lap. And I invite you to silently call forth any guides, any archangels, any ancestors that you would like to be present during today's talk, during today's initiation of sorts, right? Learning so much information about this 4th trimester, a part of a woman or person's journey that is often neglected. Calling forth ancestors, maybe calling forth the names of spirits, of beings who have transitioned while giving birth, postpartum. And our prayer is that this 4th trimester continues to gain attention and that people start to understand that this is a time when a mother, a person who just gave birth needs love and attention. The baby's born, 2 weeks later, people disappear, people stop attending, people stop visiting. And this is the time when the community needs to come together even stronger. This postpartum period reminds us that it does take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to mother a mother. It is such a beautiful rite of passage that we have lost along the way. And may today help us remember the importance of community during this postpartum period. The Brujas of Brooklyn bow to each and every one of you. We thank you for the work that you do. It is revolutionary. It is so needed. We are so honored to be here. Sat Nam and Ashe.
Sanamyon, Ashe. Thank you. We are complete.
Thank you, beautiful beings. Thank you so much. All right, family, buckle up.
We gather to raise awareness, centering Black, Brown, and Indigenous people.
We are shining a light on the postpartum period.
The time from the end of pregnancy due to a live birth, stillbirth, miscarriage, or abortion until 1 year from the end of pregnancy.
A time when insurance may no longer be available.
Women and birthing people may develop depression or other mental health concerns, a new diagnosis, or a worsening of chronic illnesses.
Over half of pregnancy-related deaths occur after the mother or birthing person has gone home after childbirth.
And at least 80% of these deaths are preventable.
We acknowledge the harsh reality of racial inequities in prenatal outcomes
and the impact of structural and institutional racism
and gender oppression in the context of maternal health.
We are hearing from experts, advocates, and birthing people who can shed light on the unique challenges faced by marginalized groups in the perinatal period and what we can do about it as individuals and together.
Greetings, family. Welcome to a call to action, advancing birth and parenting justice through policy change. Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King said, "A social movement that only moves people is merely a revolt. A movement that changes both people and institutions is a revolution." Tonight, we are starting our revolution. I am Tamara Akuya Hunter. I am a survivor of infertility, pregnancy loss, postpartum depression, anxiety, and medical mismanagement. I am the clinical founder of Womb Wisdom Wellness. I am a therapist specializing in supporting women and birthing people navigating womb challenges, pregnancy loss, pregnancy, and perinatal mood disorders by empowering them to prioritize their mental and emotional wellness. Why am I here? Why are any of us here? Because we all have a story. My story is I am exhausted of hearing preventable pregnancy losses from my clients, from family members, from community, and losing women in our community. I'm grateful for my experiences because they were able to help me support others. However, I knew that I needed to do more, right? And that scared me and it intimidated me. I'm not a politician. What can I do, right? So joining this policy committee stretched me, right? It stretched out of my comfort zone. I do this work to free myself, to free my community. You know, maybe if I had respectful care, my doctor would have listened to my concerns and did proper testing to learn that I had 9 fibroids, endometriosis, thrombophilia, and a huge cyst, which were contributors to my pregnancy losses. I'm here for the babies whose lives were lost due to inequitable care, the women whose voices were silenced. I'm here to create safe birthing spaces for our children, for when they grow up and choose to be parents. I'm here in this space and I bring my father with me. He's an ancestor. I'm here because he always taught me. He was a social worker in our community. He taught me that we were put on this earth to help others, that our lives are just not ours alone. Our life is a gift to be shared and to uplift our community. I'm here to encourage not only birthing people, but our community at large to engage in your local community. For if one person is suffering in our community, we are all suffering. We recognize that systemic racism and other forms of oppression are the root causes of racial inequities in maternal and infant health outcomes. A critical way to address these inequities is to push for policy changes at all levels of government. Policies can address racism and patriarchal systems of oppression to make change that will be sustainable and will ultimately lead to equity for all. Community members, all of us, we play a critical role in advocating for policy change. By sharing our own stories, we empower ourselves and others, and we amplify the voices of marginalized communities. There have been major policy victories in several cities and states, as well as coalitions working to implement policies. Most of these efforts are being led by Black women, Black-led organizations in partnership with local and national organizations and elected officials in their jurisdiction or state. You are about to hear from powerful leaders engaged in this work. You will learn about their work and what you can do to bring about policy change in your state. This is a call to action. We invite you to view this video. The images, the words might evoke emotion. If you have a reaction, right, a strong reaction, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat and let us know how it moved you. Cue the video, please. Thank you. I invite you to take a deep breath with me, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. We'll take 3 cleansing breaths as I understand the information may be intense. I would like to pose a question, family. And there will be a poll that will appear on your screen, and it's just a yes or no answer. Do you know the policy of your state around maternal health, abortion, or other reproductive justice issues? Again, do you know the policies in your state around maternal health, abortion, or other reproductive justice issues? And the poll is, you just click yes or no, please. And I see some are putting in the chat, that's fine as well.
All right, and Shawnee's gonna assist us with launching that poll for you.
Okay, no problem. 1 second, family. I appreciate that y'all jumped right to it, though. All right, I'm gonna have to start this again. There you go, fam.
Okay, the poll is up. If you can, please just click yes or no. Do you know the policies in your state around maternal health, abortion, or other reproductive justice issues?
All right, we're standing at 64% of the participants have answered. You should be able to see the poll and just click and answer. So folks, if you haven't seen the poll, just look up and you can use your cursor to navigate what the answer will be. There we go. I see more folks are answering. Thank you so much. We'll give it a little bit more time. There we go. We're up to 68%. And let me know tomorrow when you want to release it.
I can't see it, so.
Oh, I'm gonna guide like whenever time wise, not.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, 70% of the participants and 71%.
Okay. All
right, we can release.
Yes.
Share.
I think this is.
Results.
Let's share. All right. Yeah, we have 61% said yes and 39% said no. So yes, okay, that's wonderful. Wonderful. We want to give more information, and we will do that on how you can get involved in your state, you know, on a local level. We can do this poll again next year, and it's up to 100%, right? So we will be starting our panel shortly. I know you all have questions, which we encourage you to ask. Please put your questions in the chat. We will record them and make sure our moderator gets those questions. And we would hope to get to all of them, but if time permits. But if not, please understand, and we will just pick the ones that we are able to get to, okay? Thank you very much for that. So please put your questions in the chat when the panel begins. And our moderator, she will move forward with asking those questions. And speaking of our moderator, I would like to introduce Frankie Robertson. She is our panel moderator. Frankie has worked in public administration for more than 20 years, with over a decade of experience in maternal and child health, including as a state director of the Louisiana chapter of March and Dines. She is the founder and president of Amandla Group, a social justice consulting firm dismantling structural barriers by focusing on social and political determinants of health through policy, research, and advocacy. Thank you, Frankie, for holding space for this important topic. I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tamara. It is certainly an honor to be here, and such an invigorating space, such a safe, welcoming space. It's the perfect place that I want to wrap up my Friday evening to be a part of this amazing group of leaders and activists and change agents and just genuinely compassionate individuals. So thank you for the opportunity to serve today. I'm so excited to be here this evening and to be able to just have this conversation with some extraordinary change agents in our country. I am going to get started by just saying a little bit about our panelists that we will hear from in a few moments. First, I would like to just say that we are going to be speaking with Chanel Bennett, and Chanel is with City Action and Mothering Justice Detroit, and I'm so excited to hear her wisdom this evening. Also, our next panelist is Norbese Flint, and she is with PPFA, formerly Policy Director at Black Women for Wellness, Los Angeles. Also, our panelist is Dana Sussman, and she is the Acting Executive Director of Pregnancy Justice. And also, State Representative Leslie Herod. She is a state representative in the House District 8 in Colorado. So please join me in just welcoming this amazing panel, experts in policy change, who we will go ahead and start our conversation with. Welcome, welcome, beautiful people, welcome. So excited to speak with everyone tonight. First, I would like for each of you to introduce yourselves. It's just so amazing to be in this circle with you, and just, again, just be surrounded by so much passion for maternal and infant health and reproductive justice. I'm going to start off with Chanel Bennett. If you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what got you involved in this work, and then we will go around to our panel, and then we'll continue our conversation from here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chanel Bennett, and I am the Black Maternal Health and Reproductive Justice Organizer at Mothering Justice in Detroit. I'm also a birth and postpartum doula. And currently I am working on the Michigan Momnibus in partnership with Birth Detroit and in partnership with Elephant Circle with the support of Sister Song to hopefully pass a Momnibus package next year for the people of our state. But what initially got me started into this line of work is I wanted to be a doula for teen moms. And through pregnancy for myself, I was able, by the grace of God, to birth 3 beautiful children. But at one point I had a loss at about 8 months. And I was thinking to myself, like, what kind of position could I have where I could hold space and be a support person? And I found out about doula work, and the doula work led me into the reproductive justice work, which led me into community health work, which led me right into policy work. So I'm very, very fortunate to just be in this space with you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chanel. Looking forward to chatting with you in a few minutes. And Norbese, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this work.
Thank you for having me be here. Thank you. Again, I'm Norbese Flint. I will say I'm a sci-fi Black feminist. And why do I say I'm a sci-fi Black feminist when I'm talking about maternal health? I feel like Afrofuturism has given me a vision, a mission, a pathway to what it looks like for joy and liberation. And so when I think about my Star Trekness, and I think about Black people in the future and joy, that's what drives my work. So I say that I always open with that. I am a big nerd. But outside of that, my day job, I work at Planned Parenthood, but I'm not here in that capacity. I'm here as a mom, a newish mom of a 20-month-year-old. I'm also here as the former policy director at Black Women for Wellness, who I had the honor and privilege of working on many, many maternal health bills, including passing California's Manifest bill and helping write it, as well as California Dignity and Pregnancy piece of legislation, as well as many reproductive health rights and justice pieces of legislation at the state. And so I'm super, super excited to talk about both policy, which is my love language, as well as Black folks, because they're my people.
Thank you, Norbese. And Dana.
Hi there. It's so nice to be with all of you. My name is Dana Sussman. I'm the acting executive director at Pregnancy Justice. And Pregnancy Justice is a small organization that fights for the civil and human rights of pregnant people because too many people lose those rights simply by being pregnant. And our sort of piece of this work focuses on the ways in which pregnant folks are targeted in the criminal legal system, which of course, as we all know, disproportionately impacts Black folks, Black women. And I come at this from as a young person. I thought the only way I could do this work was to become a lawyer, so I did, which was misguided, but all I knew, and wove my way to this work through my own experiences as a mother, someone who also experienced challenges with infertility and challenging births, but also knew that my whiteness and my privilege served as a protective factor in many ways that is not experienced by the people that we work with and the communities that we engage with. And you know, we are part of networks across the country, but in specific states in which pregnancy is the reason why people are surveilled, are policed. And so we really work in collaboration with local organizations, both to represent folks directly, but also to try to move policy. And what excites me a lot about this conversation is thinking about policy really broadly. I think I saw in the notes, the big P policy and the little p policy, because I think there's a lot that goes in, you know, a lot of layers to it. So I'm excited to talk about all of that with all of you, this incredibly accomplished group of people here.
Thank you, Dana. Representative Herod, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this work.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm State Representative Leslie Herod. I represent House District 8 in Denver, Colorado. I'm actually the first out queer Black person elected to public office in Colorado, and I bring that to this work. For me, I guess I got involved in birthing justice at an early age by default. My mom was an OBGYN. She became an OBGYN because Black women weren't getting the care that they needed and deserved. And she felt like there needed to be more people that looked like us in those spaces. And I've always respected so much her work, her fight for body autonomy for Black women in particular, but for all people, and then have expanded in a lot of ways. And so for me, being a legislator, I'm the only one in my family who is not in the medical profession, but being a legislator and looking at birth justice across this country, we realize how bad we're doing. And working and talking with my mom, you know, all the hopes that she had to improve the maternal care of Black women, you know, we have a lot of work to do. And so as she kind of fought to change the system by being there and by doing the work, I'm fighting to make sure that others in other positions, such as midwives and doulas and others, have the same respect when it comes to access to birthing spaces. And also working to check myself and expand also my dialogue around who is a birthing person, and knowing that we're talking about more than just women, but our entire birthing community and those who support them, and ensuring that that support network looks as diverse as our communities as well. And so that's what I bring into this work, and that's what brought me here.
Amazing. Thank you all. Thank you for sharing. How inspirational, and just so happy to be able to have this chat with you. So Let's talk about the video that we all watched together at the beginning of the panel discussion. Based upon the headlines in the video, what would you say about the role of policy in addressing one or more of those issues? And anyone feel free to jump in first if you feel compelled to answer that question. What can you say about the role of policy in addressing one or more of the issues that were brought to the forefront in the clip that we watched together?
Well, I can talk about my perspective in running the policies in Colorado. We passed multiple omnibus pieces of legislation through our state, and the number one, as we uncovered the issues, we realized that a lot of it was the lack of care and concern for birthing people written into statutes, codes, and also into insurance and to money. It's too expensive to give people the care that we need, right? We have the worst maternal mortality of all of the, developed nations, if you will, for lack of better words. And that's absurd. We know that, right? And we haven't done enough to change it. But our policies actually reinforce that. And so when we look at, even for Colorado, we had to ensure that doulas were allowed in the space, even, especially through COVID, but through other instances as well. That's a huge problem. And, it just depends on how lucky you are if you have that access. And that is things that are written in policy and then can be changed by law. And so I think a lot of the things that we saw in that video can be changed by policy, but policy is not where it starts. It really starts with the people who demand differently. I didn't write these bills by myself. They came from an amazing group, coalition led by Elephant Circle and so many others, Soul to Soul Sisters, that are doing the work. And so I think it really comes from the experience and then ensuring that no one has those negative adverse experiences again.
So many great points. So many great points. Would anyone else like to chime in on that question?
I mean, I feel like the representative got most of it, all of it. So it's not much for me to add here, but I would just say I just re-emphasize that policy is one piece of the puzzle. It's an important piece. And it is crucial in thinking about how we look at dismantling systemic and institutional barriers, but it also has to be coupled with organizing, has to be coupled with culture shift. And so anybody who is just thinking about policy in itself is actually doing a disservice to the policy and the work and the movement to actually see and close the gap of disparities, but also move towards having folks being able to have birthing experiences that are joyous and thriving, right? We're not thinking just of either staying alive, but joyous, thriving birthing experiences.
Norbe, you say that, and there's so much power in what you said. And I too have heard so many Black birthing people and their partners basically just say, I just want to survive. I just want to make sure I leave the hospital. And I think what a terrible position to be in, to think that is the end goal of just survival, not thriving, but I just want to make it out alive. And it pains me every time I hear that. And I, like everyone else here, I'm committed to changing that narrative, those beliefs, and changing this whole environment, right, that birthing people are in, that instills that fear in us and zaps away that joy that we are entitled to, that we deserve, that we should have. But of course, we also need to be protected, and we also need to know what the dangers and threats are. But we can't have our birthing experience shaped by that if that's the end result that we feel is the best scenario to happen. So thank you for uplifting that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Representative Harrod, you kind of touched on this a little bit in your response to the initial question, but you can tell, so there's a quote that says that you can tell the wealth of a nation by how they treat birthing in their country. What does that mean for work that has to be done to change policies? I think that's such a powerful statement, and it's so, United States centered and how we treat birthing people and this drive-through experience that we've manufactured for birthing people. What are your thoughts on that in terms of what that means for changing policies?
Oops, say that one more time.
Sure. You can tell the wealth of a nation by how they treat birthing in their country.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
think that is interesting.
Yes.
Because I think as myself and probably a lot of us here, we think of wealth and abundance very differently. I believe that would be inaccurate if we were talking about the wealth of this nation, because we are a very wealthy nation and we treat birthing people horribly and discard them. And so if you look at it that way, I would say that it would be inaccurate. But then when you look to, the abundance of our communities and the abundance of this nation, I think that there is a lot of struggling there because the wealth is very concentrated, but I don't know as a country that we have the abundance in our communities, in our souls and in our hearts that we're striving towards. And so in that, I think there is some alignment when it comes to abundance and how we're treating folks. And I know that as we think about birth justice and birth equity, it's really about how can we get to that level of not just surviving, but being abundant, right? And thriving and getting beyond those kind of base level needs and being able to raise our families, raise our communities, show up for each other and show up together in a way that is thriving. And so that's an interesting quote. And I think maybe in the most literal of senses, it's not exactly accurate for us. And it is accurate for other countries, though. I will note it is accurate for other countries. But this country, we do not place a priority on the health of our people, especially the health of our people who are not in the highest income earning, or I wouldn't even say income, outside of earning income. They're beyond income. And I think that is a huge challenge for this country. And it is a part of our work. But as we look at folks like, Serena, we know that it's not just about money to that equals birth equity. And so, yeah, we have a lot of work to do. And I think we should really be fighting for that abundance.
Thank you.
I would just add too, I can't help but think about the way that budgets are policy, the way that we allocate resources on the state level and the federal level, and how if we took the money that we invest in prisons and jails and police forces and redirect it to supporting healthcare and access to care for communities that aren't receiving it, or doula funds, abortion funds, all of the things that would give people the care that they need. We're operating in this capitalist system, so it's about the money for now, at least, like what we could do, and then adding on, daycare and public education. There's so much. It's just like it's like almost beyond imagination what we could envision for ourselves if we deconstructed those budgets and put them in the places that would really invest in where it's needed.
Quite frankly, if we allowed birthing people to birth outside of the correctional facility, if we took the guards out, correctional officers out of the room while people were giving birth and took away the shackles, quite frankly, you would have more funding in the system to support the aftercare that is necessary to ensure that our babies are strong and that our birthing folks have the care that they need, literally by the numbers. So it makes more monetary sense to not do things the way that we're doing them right now, much less talking about postpartum health, right? And healthcare and what happens when you actually give people the care that they need, as opposed to them ending up back in the ER or worse. We know it doesn't make monetary sense to do the things that we are doing, yet we still do it. And I think there's a lot more reasons behind that than it's financial.
I agree. I think these are, again, very powerful points. And I appreciate Dana just lifting up, our capitalist society and the things that are driving the decisions, especially the policy decisions that continue to create that divide, the wealth divide that we see in our nation, and channeling resources to places where they could be best used somewhere else to reduce some of those inequities. But there's so many reasons and arguments as to why people aren't doing that, and it all pretty much comes back to capitalism. So thank you for lifting that up, Dana. People say that state policy is where the rubber meets the road. Why, from your experience, is working in your state or locally an important strategy to advance birth and parenting justice?
I can respond to that if that's okay.
Yes,
Well,
Chanel, jump
respond
in there.
first. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So one of the things that we're adamant about at Mothering Justice is centering the voices of the people who get the short end of the stick when these decisions are made. And so we always tell people, like, we want to center the voices of Black mamas. We want to be at the table when decisions are being made about us and for us. And so for that reason, we feel like that is the shift that we need to see. We shifted in our city, then we shifted in our municipal area, and then we start shifting it in the state, which was how we came up partially with the Michigan Momnibus. We went to the people that we feel like need to be centered, because if people of color aren't centered, then nobody's centered. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. If we're not centered, then nobody is. It's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to center people who already are at the top. And so we took the voices of the community, and we took the voices of some OBs, some doulas, and we said, what does a beautiful birth world look like to you? Whatever it looks like to you guys, that's what we're going to take back to lawmakers and say, this is what we need and this is what we want. And we have the numbers and the statistics to back it up. And we're going to challenge what you guys use for these measurements. We're going to challenge the Prim scale. We're going to challenge all of what questions are you asking people when you're doing research projects. And so all of that has helped us shift. Like we feel like voices, community voices, when they meet lawmakers, that's like the rubber meeting the road for real. And either somebody's going to dig up that concrete and we're going to roll out a new road, or we going to keep bumping and jumping until we all decide that we want a smoother ride to the journey, if that makes sense. So I hope I didn't go around the corner to come back to the house, y'all.
No, perfect. You're speaking my language. Would anyone else like to jump in?
I just want to say that I think that you can move so much faster at the state level than where we are right here nationally. Depending on what state that you're in, you could have parental leave, you could have really good at MMRCs, you could have a whole bunch of things, and in other states, you can have nothing, right? And unfortunately, and this was a little bit of a culture shock for me when I got to the national level, was like the conversation that is happening at the national level is so far behind where we were in California that I would actually be scared if they were trying to like implement, or like if California had to be at the same level or move at the same speed as what the national space is. And so there's so much more opportunity to move things that look and feel like a community, like Chanel said, and being able to like talk to your legislators and be able to like lift up things that are right for your community, and actually get that over the finish line than you can at the national level. And so I think both not only at the state level, but the city and county, that is where a lot of us should be spending our time and moving things, because so much gets lost at the national level and the wuha and politics of it all.
Oh no, Bese, that is just excellent. And you know, a lot of times when I talk about this too, I just remind people that a lot of the social determinants-based policy is actually at the city council level, just like you said, looking at the state level. And
And a lot of times that area is glossed over. And I don't think it's intentional. I think from a resource standpoint, working in this policy world, some of us try to look at where we think we can make the biggest impact, but we do have to find a way to really have a dual focus, but understanding that a lot of times we're resource limited in where we can really spend our time. But I'm so happy that you lifted that up, and I would totally agree. As someone who works with organizations who have a presence at the federal level and at the local level, and I appreciate you sharing that. Dana, I see you head nodding. Did you want to jump in there too?
Well, I think it's such an important point, and also that I think there's oftentimes a lot of options for creativity on the local level that other jurisdictions or other area, like parts of the country, will then adopt. So an idea that might seem like radical, you know, as the first county or the first state out of the gate, you know, whether it's I'm thinking like the Pregnant Worker Fairness Act and how those just sort of spread. You know, the first one happened about 10 years ago, I think, and it just it kind of spread. It spread to some states where it was surprising, and then, just as Nurbese, you know, described, the feds kind of got on board. I think in sort of the budget, the IRA, if I got that right, last year, in a surprising way. And so I think there are real opportunities to be creative at the local level. And if we could just get, you know, one local government to buy into it, then you can replicate it. And that can be really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing is that a lot of the attention is at the federal level, but a lot of the work happens at the state level. And so the resources aren't matched, right? Because if the resources are going to the federal level, but the work is happening locally, that becomes a huge problem, right? Because the local leaders don't actually get the support that they need to make the change they need for millions of people. And so I think that that's really important to note, and that flexibility and that creativity sometimes is not supported because it's different than whatever draft legislation or whatnot, or people don't understand it. And I think that's something that folks really need to look out for as well. But the work does happen at the local level, and it can happen very quickly if you get the right legislator who makes this a priority, or group of legislators. I was proud to run this bill with Black women, multiple bills. I think we're on the fourth one now, with Black women in the Black caucus. And white women were very interested too, because our outcomes for white women are not good. You know, they're not good either. And so that was an interesting way that we were able to build that strength. But at the end of the day, not many people even know who their state legislator is, much less who the state legislator is in their state that's doing this work. So they tend to do it without even the community support that they really need. And so again, I lean into the local organizations who are here to really have those conversations and allow folks the opportunity to highlight the work of the community. And then finally, especially with the national orgs, don't forget about the states like Colorado, where people think there aren't people of color, because we have us, we're here, but also the states where maybe it seems like a tougher fight, where maybe it's the folks seem less supportive, but we're seeing true gains in places like even, I don't know, Kentucky, Tennessee, you know, where we're seeing people kind of get it. And maybe it doesn't look the same as what we were able to do here in our state or in others, but at least there's progress being made. So don't forget about those deep red states where we really still need that support for the people who live there. And I know a lot of you all are doing the work there too.
Yes, thank you. And when you said in some of the states where it seems like it may be challenging, I think about Louisiana, the state that I'm in, a very much so red state with blue cities like Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Many of the policies that you mentioned, there are grassroots organizations who have led the way with some really amazing legislative champions to do things like extended postpartum coverage, pregnant worker fairness. Before it was obviously federal priority, maternal mental health, and other things. So yes, there is hope. And just because you live in a very conservative state, don't just assume that some of the policies that seem to be more progressive aren't possible. I mean, in Mississippi recently, I know it took a few years as a lobbyist who lobbied there previous years, seeing them constantly introduce extended postpartum. care. Well, there had to be a political shift in alignment with that, even if it was politically leaning. But there were some amazing groups, a lot of Black women-led organizations that pushed that through, and they got it through. So don't lose hope. It is possible. Definitely possible. Keep pushing. So we're wrapping up to some of our final questions. Next question is about factors for successful policy change. I'd like to know what you consider the key factors to be for people to consider for successful policy change.
I can start.
Thank you. Oh, absolutely, nobody say.
I think the first and foremost, and I will talk from like my personal perspective of what was helpful for me. The first thing I would say is not be limited by mediocre white men's lack of imagination about what is possible. Many times people were like, oh, we can't do that. You're putting too much, all the other things. We got everything signed and in law. And so the idea that you need to play by other people's rules on like what is possible in your imagination and the creativity of what you can get past, do not listen to them.
Yes.
You can push forward. But the second piece of it, and the way we were able to do that, is that we had a really tight organizing game. Our conversation wasn't just with folks in the office or in Sacramento when we did state work. It was also making sure that the talk that we talk, we were able to walk the walk with people who like organizing our communities, telling them exactly what we were doing, having constant feedback and conversations, as well as being able to move them when we needed to move. And being unapologetic about the work that we were doing, right? Being authentic and honest about how we did the work was incredibly important, because then we had incredible trust in the community and with our partners. And that meant when we're like, yo, we need to show up and show out, folks were like, we got you, right? It wasn't no second questions, because they knew who we were and we knew who we stand for. The third piece is that we were really also, I think it's super important to support your Black and our progressive legislators who are doing the work, right? Sometimes we forget, we send them up there and then we'll never talk to them again. You don't see us. So we made sure, and that's one of the reasons why we started RC4, different conversation, but we made sure that we were holding and making sure that we were walking with our champions, both before, during, and after their time in office, so that they had a community that support them, because they were actually having to do and fight battles at the Capitol. And those battles are very difficult sometimes when you are going against what is the kind of mainstream or the orthodox way of what we used to do. And so those were the pieces that I think were super, super important on how we moved our work. But like being bold and courageous and unapologetic was a thing that vision that led all of our policy pieces. And I think that's why we were super successful in it.
Thank you. Phenomenal work. I'm just really grateful for the work that you've done in conjunction with partners. And I would say that, just as a reminder too, when you see policy movements like the one Norbese has led in California, don't forget that that becomes a catalyst for change in other communities. A lot of time when I'm researching policy work, I probably start with California to look at some of the things. So it's really, I'm grateful to put a face with a name, a face with bills. We go to those more progressive states to identify movements and sometimes use some of the sample legislation as well. So would anyone else like to chime in on this question?
I'll just say, from my perspective as a legislator, data is important.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the data in your state is really important to get a state legislator to champion your work, and to get folks who maybe don't think it's a priority to understand why it is. The data is needed. But what changes hearts and minds and votes is stories. is personal stories. So when you're able to come and share your personal story, or when you're able to learn a personal story about a lawmaker that you didn't know, you realize that maybe there are more allies than you think, and you just have to relate your work to what their experience is, you know, or what your experience was. And when you can do that, hit that sweet spot where you've got a good champion that gets the data, that can do the underlying stuff, but then you can actually move the hearts and minds with the real stories and compel someone, because their story is going to look a lot like probably what you talked about, then you'll see change. Now you will have opposition, and there will be people talking about how they ran their rural farms and how they birthed a cow and everything. And you'll be like, what the heck does that have to do with what we're talking about now? But as you work through it, you'll realize that their niece maybe had a very difficult labor, and they were very worried for their lives, right? Because you're talking to them, to their hearts. You know, you'll realize that a lot of folks have gone through the injustices in our system, regardless of their race, color, or income. And that there is a relatable point in this work. And I think that's why it has the opportunity to be so successful and to breach the kind of partisan divide that's happening right now in politics. And so all of the personal stories matter, be it from medical professionals, individuals just sharing their lives, advocates. That's where we're really going to see the most movement when it comes to getting across the finish line.
Thank you, Representative Harrod. Amazing. I want to uplift a question in the chat. Cynthia Farrell Johnson asked, where can one see examples of the good legislation and policies that have been passed and implemented? Where would Cynthia get started with finding something like that?
Elephant Circle has all of the legislation except for the most recent legislation that was just passed on the website right now.
Can I type in Elephant Circle? But if someone, of course, can put that website in there, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you. Great place to start. Great place to start. Want to go to our final question. And that final question would be more like a rapid fire question. How can people get involved? It's a pretty basic question, but sometimes we don't know where to start. So how can people get involved?
I can quickly go. Chanel, are you trying to tune in?
No, I want you to go.
This is my favorite question. Of like, anytime I'm talking to people and people are like, why? Because it is actually so much easier to get involved in what people think. A lot of folks think that we gotta like organize and then go to DC. No, I think like one of the ways in which to organize is one, tap into a local organization doing the work. There are lots of organizations. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. You could talk to any of us who are here. We can point you to folks who are doing the work in the community, and they have probably lots of ways to plug in. I think it's also important to think about political education and making sure people understand what is happening, because a lot of times that get lost in like a lot of the headlines that we have that are constantly coming at us in social media and all the pieces. And so having that political education and doing political education with your friends, your neighbors, your families, in your house, in your homes, in your schools is incredibly important and can go so much farther than trying to like change our persuade somebody who you do not know far away. The most persuasion that you have, the most pool that you have are with people that in your neighborhood, the people who know you and get down with you. And so those are the folks that I would always recommend for people to start with. And it could be everything from political education to foods, to just showing up to like help people do envelopes. People still do that sometimes. I know that some of the older folks that we used to work with when I was at Black Women for Wellness, they didn't do social media. You need to mail them something. And so sometimes we just needed to mail people stuff or knock on their doors or call them. And so folks need help in doing those pieces as well. And so I also think that like creative pieces, art, folks who are good at graphic design, people who can paint, do murals, people who are down to do direct action, all of those things are super important. And I promise you there's an organization who will help lead the way if you do not have a way in which a a way to think about how to organize in your community.
Thank you, Nurbese. Let's hear from another panelist. What are your thoughts on how people can get involved?
I mean, I think that was it. That is, that really summarized it. I just say also run for office when you're ready. If you feel like that is your space, or encourage someone else to do so if it's not your space, and support them in it. I know that was mentioned a bit, but you don't put people in office and then leave them, because as a Black elected, we need that support from community. And I know that's hard for community because we're taught to distrust those who are in these seats, even if when we're put here by community. And so it takes a bit of a different shift in thinking, and really trying to help and support and understand what it takes to get a bill across the finish line, I think is also important. And also just gather the stories. Some people can't do social media. Some people don't want to write letters, but they know people. Gather those stories, because that's going to be really, really impactful. And make sure that you have stepped foot in your state capitol building, or you've gone to a city council meeting, and then encourage folks to come in, because it's not as scary as people think it is. It's not what you see on TV, we barely had to go through metal detectors up until recently. It's kind of like, that's all it is, but it's the people's house, and you're welcome in the building, you're welcome in the gallery, you're welcome in the lobby, and you should be there, especially when the legislature is in session.
Agreed. Such an excellent point, Representative Harrod. And I would add to what you said about running for office. Absolutely. You need people at every corner. There's lobbyist work, right? That's a field that especially is not equitable in terms of representation of people of color. But then there's also remembering that we need to help get people elected, right? So not only run, but when you see a person who's a great candidate, support them, because that in itself is a lot of work. And people often need support that is not there to help change the status quo. So thank you all so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience, your passion, all of your insights. Really appreciate you. And it's just so amazing to be in this space with you and to share, to learn, most importantly. So thank you all to each panelist for joining us. Dana, to Representative Harrod, to Nurbese, to Chanel, thank you so much. We are now, yes, in the chat, great information from panel. Yes, would totally agree. We're now going to actually go to our breakout rooms. We will be there for about 10 minutes. So we are going to ask you to hit the prompt near the bottom of your screen. Each person has been assigned to a specific room, and you'll be given further instructions once you join. So thank you so much for participating in this amazing, amazing panel.
Hello there.
Hi.
Allison.
So thank you. So I'm going to facilitate the conversation in the main space for those of you who are here. And the question is, what is one action you could take to advance policy to improve postpartum health for Black, Brown, and Indigenous women and birthing people in your state? And I will add on their infants as well and their partners. Let's not forget that this is a holistic conversation that includes the many facets, and some of those facets are who they co-create and partner with and who they bring into the world, because there's a lot at jeopardy and at stake with all of those layers. So who is willing, hi Sam, who is willing to be the scribe for this segment here in this space so we can capture what is being said and then put all of the material together from the various breakout rooms and this main space so that we can look at it, review it, and utilize it to forward the movement. So who can do that for us tonight? Anyone? Thank you, Nurbese. Anybody willing to be the scribe? I see you, Chantel. I think that's you.
Yes, I can do it.
All right, wonderful. All right, people are jumping in and out, so we'll see where we land. I'm going to drop the question in again so that we can have a generative conversation about policy in our state or your state. I'm a New Yorker. I see a lot of folks who are in New York in this space or in New Jersey in this space. So who wants to start us off while Chantel captures what we're saying? Policy. So Sam, you just came back from DC, right, beloved?
Yes, I literally just got off the plane like an hour ago. And we had an amazing time. We met with like tons of congressional representatives in the Senate and the House. We were talking mainly about stillbirth prevention, but I made sure to mention to everybody it's also Postpartum Awareness Week and how closely, stillbirth and maternal mortality are, intertwined, and that it's the same solutions to both issues. And that's why we're pushing so hard for change together. But one thing I wanted to mention in particular, when it comes to postpartum health for Black, Brown, and Indigenous women and birthing people in my state of New York, is we have a bill right now, the New York Paid Family Leave After Stillbirth bill, and it has passed in the Senate. It's co-sponsored by more than half of the assembly members, but it hasn't been brought to the floor for the vote yet. And so we really need constituents, other people in New York, to contact their assembly members and ask them to support this bill. Because right now, parents who have during pregnancy are getting approved for paid family leave. They're paying into the system, all the time through their paychecks. And, while they're pregnant, the state is telling them, yep, you can take these benefits once your baby is born, and you'll get, 6 to 12 weeks of paid family leave at like $1,100 a week, something like that. And what's happening right now is there's 4 families a day in New York State that have a stillbirth. And when that happens to those families and they go to claim their paid family leave, they're being told by New York State that they no longer are eligible because they don't have a baby to bond with. And so that's putting people at risk, because moms who've had a stillbirth are more than 5 times as likely to have severe maternal complications. Moms who've had a stillbirth have gone through a birth just like anybody else. And of course, Black and Brown women are more than twice as likely to be suffering a stillbirth to begin with because of systemic and structural racism. So this is a huge opportunity for New York to lead the way when it comes to improving postpartum health for Black, Brown, and Indigenous women. So, thank you.
You didn't have to rush either.
No, I'll talk about
that. One of the things that comes up for me as I listen to you is that there are so many people who don't even know how to do what you all just did, which is go and get audience with the legislators, with these folks who we pay. Folks don't even think about it in that way, that we pay their salaries, our tax-paying dollars, like all of that.
Yeah, they work for us. It was so funny. We were outside the Capitol, and a tour of school kids came by, and one of them yelled at us, "You work for Joe Biden?" And we said, "No, Joe Biden works for us."
Thank you. I'm so glad that you told them that, because it's a lot. I mean, we just don't think about it in that way, because there's this separation and power differential, and it's problematic. So we need training and development, I think, just thinking about policy on how to navigate in these spaces that have traditionally been stripped from us, or folks have not even thought about, like beyond learning about it in school, conjunction, junction, what's your I'm dating myself. They don't teach us how to use our voices in ways that really make a difference. So anybody else, how we as citizen ABC citizens awesome wonders can actually make a difference in our states.
And Sam, can you drop the name of the bill in the chat, please?
Oh, yes, that's awesome.
I put New York paid stillborn birth. Okay. Relief. Okay, cool.
All right. Anyone else? Things we can do in our state, and remember, broaden it. Like, we're talking about the BIPOC birthing people, but we're also talking about infants, and we're talking about partners, and we're talking about extended family members. What policy can make a difference in the state that you're from? Jump in, family.
Well, I don't know about the policies, but I think where I am right now is a way that I'm helping. And I never saw myself here, even though behind the scenes, I've learned so much about reproductive justice by way of losing a friend. And like you said last night, a lot of us don't even know that this is an epidemic. And as a Black woman, I didn't know this was an epidemic until it hit home. And so putting together events that raise awareness is my way of doing something about it, and my way of also educating myself and others and bringing others into the fold so they can learn about it as well, and sharing what I'm learning. A lot of people at first didn't know that I was doing this work. So sharing it and educating others, bringing them into the space, that's what I can do and what I'll continue to do.
Ashe. And Samantha just put in the New York paid
Thank you.
family leave after stillbirth, what she just talked about and framed. But I want to talk about, and I learned this from doing my work to support those who are navigating postpartum, who've experienced losses, who are dealing with postpartum depression or perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, is that in New Jersey, there's a bonding leave that was implemented so that folks could have extended time to bond with their babies after their initial, I think 3 months, they can extend that. So one of the people that I'm serving, actually, she was on one of the panels, her and her partner, Carlos and Melani, and their baby Cameron, and their sons and daughters that are part of their blended family, that Melani was able to get support with the bonding leave, new legislature in New Jersey, and is getting paid while she bonds with her baby. I love that they called it bonding leave. And she went through a lot, you know, her mental health. She was on 2 months of bed rest in the hospital, away from her family and away from her son, and her partner going in and out. Very traumatic birthing experience and bruising on her body from all of the poking and the prodding and the sticking. And, you know, so to be able to stay home so she could recuperate and recover from all of that trauma, plus be with her baby who was in the NICU for an extended period, is amazing. And hoorah for Jersey, just like it was talked about with the panel, that sometimes there are policies that are established in one state, and all we have to do in our state is just pick it up and take it away and just replicate it. And it's every little bit that counts. Anybody else shares about policy? And I invite you to think about things that have happened to you, where there was a mistreatment or a skipping over of something, and you're like, wait a minute, this wasn't fair, this wasn't right. And maybe there's a policy that can be aligned with how to navigate that. Anyone? What I'll say, I think they're coming back. We keep the breakout room open for a little bit. I'm cheating. And they may end up popping back in the space, but one of the policies when Shamani transitioned was that they weren't going to automatically do an autopsy or ask us. I had to ask for one. You know, she had just had a baby, and I'm like, because she was Black and brown, and if they knew anything about the stats, the automatic thing was to me to ask the family about getting an autopsy done and covering whatever expenses or anything that needed to be done regarding that, because of the time period between her having the baby and her being in medical distress. There was also an issue around her going to the hospital where she had given birth as opposed to the hospital where they took her. There was only a few blocks between the two hospitals, but they took her to the one that was a couple of blocks closer, when she could have benefited from going to the hospital that just had just seen her the week before when they took her staples out from her C-section. So those policies sometimes can create more danger for folks. So anybody else want to chime in about policies and what we can consider as it relates to postpartum and our care and reproductive health?
Real quick, Shawnee. So I'm like I said, I'm new to policies and is it the breakout rooms?
It's okay, keep talking.
The breakout room thing's popping. I would love to look into cervical checks for everyone, because had they checked my cervix, Lily would be here.
Right.
You know, because I had a healthy pregnancy that went 40 weeks, they didn't check my cervix.
Right.
So after, you know, like my cervix opened, they were like, oh, well, you know, lost my daughter. Now they're like, okay, well, next time we know to check your cervix. So that's definitely something that I would like to look into as far as policies and what, you know, what the protocol for that process is.
Ashe, thank you. So we have most of the participants back in the space. Thank you all for rejoining. I'm going to pass this over to the team that is responsible for the co-creation of day number 6. So who is guiding the conversation now that we're back from the breakout?
Thank you so much, Shawnee. Great. So we're all back and we want to hear from you. What happened in those rooms? What did you talk about? You know, I want to say again, thank you so much to the panelists tonight for really bringing, you know, up on the table, up on the mat, a lot of what could be possible in this environment, in this space that we're creating for birthing and parenting justice, and, you know, for the experience to be safe and safe in, you know, everywhere. So what did you see in your room that could be one action? Maybe it's not an action that you're going to take, but you see it's an action that could be taken that could move the needle forward in this conversation. So if you will, please raise your hands, your digital hands, and we want to hear from you. Great. All right. I see some hands. Okay, Samantha, then Valerie and Teresa. Samantha, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. I shared that in New York State right now, we have a bill called the Paid Family Leave After Stillbirth Bill. I will drop the bill number and some additional information in the chat. But basically the gist is that right now, families who are paying into the paid family leave system during pregnancy and getting approved for up to 6 to 12 weeks of paid leave at $1,100 a week are finding out when their baby is unexpectedly born still at the end of their pregnancy, and they go to claim their benefits. You know, they've just given birth just like anybody else. They're having the same postpartum effects. They're having, you know, bleeding and engorged breasts. And after having gone through a stillbirth, they're also almost 5 times as likely to be experiencing severe maternal complications. And within days of giving birth and burying their child, New York State is calling to tell them that the paid leave that they've been paying into the system and were already approved for and relying on is being revoked because they don't have a baby to bond with. Because that's how the law is currently written, that paid family leave for a birthing parent is only to bond with a baby. And what's really absurd about this is that the non-birthing parent, the father in many cases, actually can still claim his leave. But this means that, you know, in families where the mom is the sole breadwinner or is the major breadwinner or the only, for single moms in particular, they have no recourse here. The state says, well, don't worry, because you may not be able to take paid family leave anymore, but you can take the temporary disability at $110 a week. As if anyone can survive on $100 a week in New York State. So yes, that is that's the kind of gist of the bill. And thank you, Chantel. I saw that you dropped in there the link to the fact sheet.
Good.
And if you live in New York State, you can help by calling your assembly member. It's already passed in the Senate twice at co-sponsoring. It's a bipartisan bill, but it has session is coming to an end in June. So yeah, and apologies for the background noise. I was away in DC all weekend and my kids are very excited that I'm home. There's a lot of noise here, but so I'll drop more information in the chat. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. Great. And Valerie, tell us where you're actually dialing in from, and then go ahead and let us know what you want to say.
Good evening. I'm calling in from Atlanta. So when I answer this question, and I have a mermaid in my bathtub, so if you hear some splashing around, that's what the background is. It's my
awesome. Everyone needs a mermaid. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So when I initially wrote in our group, I was thinking about what I could do in my work capacity, because I work for an organization that is focused on maternal health. But then I started thinking more about what I could do kind of personally outside of my work, and just thinking about like moving the conversation about Postpartum Awareness Week forward. Like, I know that there are a lot of women in my personal circle who have had complications in postpartum, and like I've gotten bits and pieces of their stories, but like to even have a coming together of those people in my circle to share stories and then talk about what we can do. Because a lot of women in my circle are in government or law or work in social services. And so just like not forgetting about the people that are like in arm's reach of myself. So I know like earlier we were talking about, you know, starting at the city or local level and how much impact that can have instead of trying to focus so much at the national level. And so that was a thought that came to me about like starting where I am with the people in my immediate circle and how we can make some movement as well. So
Good. Beautiful. Thank you. Teresa, you'll be our last one.
One of the things that came up in our conversation is that how Medicaid reimbursement for midwives is very, very low. And so, you know, that's something that we need to figure out how we can get a better reimbursement, because they're actually saving people's lives. And so they're doing a better job than the doctors. So I think they should get better pay. So that's something we can figure out how to work out on that.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's extraordinary to even have a conversation for Medicaid to cover midwives or even doulas, because I know for a long time, even chiropractors aren't even covered under insurance, some people, right? So to have the conversation be, you know, happening, and yes, it doesn't work because the living wage that is being offered with that insurance does not work for people, you know, for the people who are being of service. Really great. Thank you for mentioning that. And I want to say, you know, like Norbese actually said, I looked, you know, for myself, because some people, like yesterday we had Anna, who was on the panel, who was in DC, and, you know, she was showing her video and she's like there beating the drums, making things happen. Shani, who's been there. I mean, just, we have so many amazing people already on this call who move. This is a movement. And then there are some of us, you know, like me, who I didn't even know who my city council person was, right? So it does make a difference. The smallest action, just going to Google, Googling, who is my elected official in my area? You know, I happened to do that. And then I discovered when I live in Brooklyn that the guy was just down the street from me. And, you know, and you get to know, they're easy to know. So there are many just simple things that we can each do to move policy forward. And I'm happy that some of you may have gotten a new action that you can take away from this call and implement in your circle, where you work, in your hospital, or, you know, wherever you are in your community, so that we can all keep having safe, healthy spaces for birthing. All right. Tonight is not complete. So we still have a beautiful, amazing, talented artist that is going to share her work with us, her expression. Shlomit, I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you.
All right, we're waiting for Shalomit to turn on her camera, and there may be some tech issues. So while we wait, let me tell you a little bit about my sister. I can't even remember how long I've known Shalomit, but I remember when I met Shalomit. I met her when I was on stage, well, not met, but got exposed to her energy when I was on stage performing as a playbacker, and she was in the audience with her partner. But Shalomit is so amazing and so full of light. You can catch her anywhere. She's just noticeable. And then I remember she was moving to join the company that I was in, and she came to a rehearsal and just big as life. You know, Shalomit is just a ball of energy and love. And she has a blended heritage. She's Latinx and she's also Jewish. And the combination of both those things is like a firecracker in my view. And how she utilizes her body in the service of humanity. There are no words. I think she is ready. I can talk about her all night, but I won't, because she's getting ready to show you who she is. She's also a Be the Tree graduate, which is the Rites of Passage program that I lead. And she's been a coach for the program, and she's just a servant extraordinaire. So without further ado, we're going to experience the beauty, like even her shadow looks great. We're going to experience the beauty and the magical offerings of Shalomit Oden. Whenever you're ready, sis.
action. A call for action to advance birthing and parenting rights and policies. We have the power. We have the power and we are on fire. Nobody is going to stop us. Nobody is going to stop us. We are beings of light, here to spread this light with our ancestors, with our families, with our babies, with all the spirits. We have the power. Let's stay united. Ashe.
Yes. Family, we invite you to unmute and acknowledge Shalmeet and her orphan.
Girl, yes, you said
We have the
that.
so
Beautiful.
beautiful,
So
so much
powerful.
powerful.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
What a
That
light
was so
being.
healing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
So much
That
love.
was so healing. My
Blessings.
God.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Fire.
Thank you.
God is fire.
Thank you. Thank you.
Blessings.
You definitely
Blessings.
are a womb healer. My God, that was a womb healer.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Woo.
Right. Thank you, beloved Shalmeet. Whew, there are no words, my love. I knew you was going to bring it because you always do. All right, family. And this is not even the end of the National Postpartum Awareness Week campaign for BIPOC folks and those that they love, their partners, their babies, their families, their communities. We are the ones that the world has been waiting for. We are the ones that have been silenced. We are the ones who have been denied. And so we will be the ones that get reactivated using all the elements. And Shalmeet let us know that fire is going to be at the very top of the list to reactivate and reclaim our power and save lives, BIPOC lives. All right, so we're going to move to close out. You all have been so generous. We're going to be in a few minutes more, for some even longer, because you know how we leave the spaces, we serenade you, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's put up the next slides. The Believe Her app. We have my beloved sister Wanda, who is in the space. I believe I saw Wanda up in here, and so I'm inviting you to take stage to speak about the Believe Her app so that the community can be aware and take action and utilize it for the fullness and the power that it was designed to be used for.
Thank you so much, Shani. The Believe Her app was designed for Black women and Brown women to have a safe place to come and talk and share and get the kind of help as far as tools and resources they need to help them navigate the pregnancy journey. It's especially helpful if you are in a place where you just don't feel right, you can't figure out what's going on, and no one wants to believe you or listen to you or give you the kind of answers that you need, then we can do that on the Believe Her app. We are in the process now of making it bigger and better, and we need to have everyone give us feedback. Come in, join us, talk in a circle or form your own circle on the app and be able to bring your friends in and have your own sister circle within a safe place for you to talk. The new improvements will also include the ability to erase conversations so that you don't have that fear that someone is listening to you or there's a troll that's going to report you because you're talking out of turn or however you imagine that to be. The Believe Her app is also available in 54 languages, so that's not a barrier. And it's all about us helping us, because if we don't, no one will.
Thank you so much. So powerful. Wanda in her stand, I want to remind everyone that I've had the privilege of co-creating Speak, Move, Change and the National Postpartum Awareness Week campaign for BIPOC folk with Wanda Irving, who you just heard, and Maddie Oden, and all of the powerful folks who are part of the PAW movement, because PAW is the nickname. You know, we big on acronyms on everything, right? So I'm just grateful that I have these two sisters plus the entire community to do this sacred work with. So let's move to the next slide. And the link for Believe Her was dropped in the chat, everyone, for you to open it up, check it out, join, create your own profile. So this is not over. Tomorrow, and I want to stress this, tomorrow is the final day, our closing day, the day before Mother's Day, Mother's Day Eve. We are closing out the national campaign, and we will be doing this every year until it's no longer needed. I always stress that. The week leading up to Mother's Day, wherever Mother's Day happens to land each year. So the National Postpartum Awareness Week campaign will officially close out tomorrow. We're going to be doing something a little bit different as far as time and location. So 2 p.m. Eastern, make adjustments if you're in Central or Mountain Time, please do. But 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be gathering at Brooklyn College at the Woody Langer Auditorium, which is in the library. It's like the clock tower on the campus. So it's very easy to see no matter what entrance you come in. You go there and then just announce yourself, and then they'll be able to guide you to the auditorium, the Woody Langer Auditorium, where we will be engaging in the sacred ceremony of completion. We'll be wrapping up the conversations that we have been having throughout the week. We have a powerful panel discussion or fireside chat that we'll be engaging in. There'll be great food. We're eating Caribbean food. We're going to engage in artistry. We're going to have a healing session to support us in processing what we have learned. We're going to have vendors there. It's going to be amazing. And I'm excited. I'm going to see my sister Wanda there because she's traveled from Atlanta to be here in New York so that she can be honored by the Miss Foundation and then also in co-creative mode with us in the sacred space. If you are in New York or the tri-state area, Connecticut, Jersey, like any of the surrounding areas, Pennsylvania, please do join us. 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll be there till 5:30, and you can join on Zoom. I was hesitant to say that because some people are like, oh, I don't need to go, I'll just watch it on Zoom. But there's nothing like being in the space with our people, hugging, loving on one another, co-creating in live space. But if you need to join in because you're in another state or you can't come through, please do join in 2 p.m., not 7, family. It might come up that your reminder will be saying 7 o'clock, but it's not that. And we have sent out reminders and text messages to those who have registered. And if you haven't registered, please do so that you can be counted because we want to make sure that we have enough food. So postpartum is forever, nurturing awareness for lasting wellness. So we're going to talk about how we're going to sustain this conversation. Saturday, May 13, 2023, Brooklyn, baby, Brooklyn, New York. I was going to say Columbia. What was I saying? Brooklyn College. All right. So thank you to our sponsors who have been so generous this year. Some have been on this journey with us since it began, like Healthy Start Brooklyn and By My Side Birth Support, Public Health Solutions. Others are BPN, who has been our partner all the way, Denise and Ngozi and her team. Dr. Joyce Hall. We're so grateful for everyone. And we want to just keep inviting you to partner with us and co-create by offering resources. Push for Empower Pregnancy has been with us for the last, I think, 2 years on this journey. I can't even remember because they're so present in the work. But I'm so grateful for all of the awesome wonders that have co-created this dynamic offering. And we look forward to making it bigger and better and keeping the conversation going and flowing in between now and the next year, 2024, when we gather again in May. So let's move forward. We want to say thank you. We cannot say thank you enough. In fact, if you speak another language, and you can say thank you in another language, whatever that is. I speak pig Latin, so I can say thank you, they, ooh, yay, right? But I could also say it in other languages, but I'm going to leave it to the people who speak the language fully and fluently. So unmute yourself if you speak another language, meaning I want to hear your voices. So I see them dropped in the chat. Regina, let's hear you say that with your voice.
Obrigada.
Yes, and I heard gracias from a little baby voice. Thank you, baby. And who else? I saw some others.
Medasi.
Yes, thank you. Awesome. Who else?
Toda.
Merci.
Merci
beaucoup.
Yes, thank you. Who else?
Toda.
Sante Sana.
Sante Sana and Toda. Yes. Awesome.
Merci en pile. Merci en pile.
Ashe. Any others? All right.
Arigato gozaimashita. Arigato gozaimashita.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you to everyone who has been part of
Abaragani.
Abaragani. Thank you, Ashe. All righty.
Kamsamida.
Siabonga.
Yes, y'all better bring it. All right, so all the thank yous verbally and then also dropped in the chat. Please put the slide back up. I want to make sure that we are asking those who are here for the first time tonight to join us on IG Live and also YouTube and Facebook. We are speak.move.change on IG Live, what's the IG Live on Instagram, Facebook, Speak Move Change, and then YouTube. This is our new platform and page. It's been created by members of the team, Liat and I think Bonnie. So Speak Move Change on YouTube, you can find the recordings of this week, and then also Speak Move Change, the series that we did for Black Maternal Health Week. We're gonna keep populating the recordings, short and long, for you to review and see. We want you to use the QR codes to visit our website, speakmovechange.net. We're also inviting you to join the sacred journey with this collective and help us improve, help us manifest other hosts next year. We want to really be doing this across the country and the globe. And I'm so grateful that we have folks from Africa and India and Jamaica, West Indies, like all over the place, engaging in this sacred journey. So hashtag Postpartum Awareness Week, hashtag PAW23, hashtag Black Maternal Health, hashtag Reproductive Justice, hashtag My Postpartum, hashtag Fourth Trimester, hashtag Postpartum is Forever. Let's keep the momentum going and flowing. And family, I hope to see you tomorrow. But before we leave out of the space, we want to serenade you, play some good music. You can dance in your box. You can do a lot in this box. And we just want to have you slowly move out. We're not forcing you to leave. We just want you to know that we love you, and whatever you choose in reference to staying or going, it's all perfect. So thank you again, family. Peace and blessings, and see you tomorrow, live or virtual. Peace.
Express yourself. Express yourself. You don't never need help from nobody else. All you got to do now, express yourself. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do, Lord, Lord. Do it good. Oh yeah. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Express yourself. Express yourself. They're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor, yeah. Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all. Some people have everything and other people don't. But everything don't mean a thing if it ain't the thing you want. Express yourself. Express yourself. Oh, do it. Oh, do it. Do it to it. Go on and do it. Y'all do it. Get it. Express yourself. Express yourself. Doing something so I'll take you there. Ain't nobody crying. I'll take you there. Ain't nobody worried. I'll take you there. No smiling faces. I'll take you there. Lie to the races. I'll take you there. Oh, I'll take you there. Oh, I'll take you there. Mercy now. I'll take you. I'm calling for mercy. I'll take you there. Mercy, mercy. I'll take you there. I'll take you there. Oh, I'll take you there. I wanna take it there. Just take me by my hand. Let me lead the way. Oh, I'll take you there. Let me take you there. I'll take you there. Let me take you there. I'll take you there. Ain't no smiling faces. I'll take you there. Up in here lying to the race. I'll take you there. You got let me. I'll take you over there. I'll take you there. Oh, all right. I'll take you there. Oh, all right. I'll take you there. Oh, I'll take you there. Oh, yeah. I'll take you there. Oh, yeah. I'll take you there. Let me lead the way. I'll take you there.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers, sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers, sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first. They come first. They have the courage where we fail. If I can just shine a light on as they carry us through the gale. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Good night, family. Love y'all.
Good night. Love you
Good
back.
night.
Good
Love
night,
y'all.
everyone. Love, love,
Thank you,
love.
kids, for
See
all
you
that dancing, that
tomorrow.
powerful
Love the
dancing, kids.
children.
Y'all rock the kids.
Good
Love
night.
y'all.
Good night. Night, baby Michelle.
Good night.